All right, and now I'm joined by the Boston Marathon champion herself, Sharon Lokedi. First off, congratulations. I'm sure it's been a crazy week of trying to process how the race unfolded and all of the attention and stuff that has come afterwards, but an incredible race in Boston. Sharon, how are you feeling now?
Thank you. I am feeling good, great, a bit tired, but all in all, I'm just excited and it's starting like just being at home and just thinking about everything and like picturing and everything. I think it's just like it's now just clicking. It's now just starting to feel like, oh, it really happened. So, yeah.
I love that. And so hopefully some of my questions along the way will try and trigger some memories as you reflect on the race. But after winning New York and now winning
Yeah.
this one, like it's the two
Yeah.
biggest marathons in America. How different do those post-race feelings, how are they so different? Because I guess like New York was so different because it was your debut and in your first
Yeah.
shot you win the New York City
Yeah.
Marathon. And this time around, I feel like the feelings are a little bit different because you've come so close in Boston.
Yeah. To be honest, like honestly, like the feeling of just like in New York, I think it was just like, oh my God, it just was like something that you'd never pictured or expected, and then it happened, and then now you're like you have to deal with all these like that was like the biggest win of my career. So I was like very like excited and like, oh, this is happening, this is happening. And then Boston, I felt like, you have that feeling and you're like, oh, it feels so good. And I never imagined that I would feel that, have the same feeling again. And then come Boston, crossing that finish line, I was like, wow. It's like, it's such a great feeling that it's like it feels so good that it happens once and you're like maybe it was just that one time and it won't happen again, and then it happens again and you're like, oh my God. But it's also just because of like all the work and everything that I feel like we've put in all those years after, like 2 or 3 years after New York. And yeah, coming close last year, I was like, oh, this is really close. And even this year, I was like, anything, I'm like, I'll be fine if I'm just top three. I'm like, I'm good, because it was just so high, and the pace was like strong from the get-go. So I just was like, okay, this is, if anything, I just have to hold my position and just stick to it and and see how it goes. So
I
it's
want to
just,
dive into the training leading into
yeah.
this one. What
Yeah.
was different in the buildup for this versus the Olympics versus Boston versus New York? Because the cool part is that since you've moved to the marathon, like you've been so successful that you and Coach Stephen Haas, like you have a good blueprint for what is a good training block. But what was different this time around training for Boston?
First off, like most of my marathons I've trained in Kenya. So this was the first one that I've been, I mean, I guess second one because I did New York too here. But this was like the first block that I did here fully, and it was in the winter. So that was like one of the biggest things. I was like, I remember like in January training, and I'm like, I don't know if I can deal with this. It's cold, everything just is like hard. The workouts, you're trying to hit the paces, but it makes it so hard, and with the cold and everything. So every time I would come back from the training and I'm like, Steven is like, oh, just don't worry about the paces, just get the work in, the effort. So we just focused mostly on the effort. But it was just so hard for me because I was just used to running certain paces, and I'm used to running like doing like long runs at like a certain way and all this stuff. But then now I have to like, okay, change things because of the weather. Sometimes we'll go to one place and then it's like too cold, you cannot do it, or it's like closed, and then we have to change to go to somewhere else. So it was like one of those that I was like, okay, this is gonna be a tough one, but I just have to like figure out a way to like work on it. So we thought about just getting someone to come help with training, and that helped for a bit because then it reduced the stress in my head, because I was like so stressed, just doing all the workouts, all the long workouts by myself. I'm like, am I really hitting, like am I doing, it was just so much like doubt and comparison. But it got to the point where I was like, anything like training anywhere, it doesn't change. It's just like what how you take it and like how you're, you view it. And I think just the way I viewed everything kind of switched, and when it switched, everything just started clicking. And I started like running, like getting the workouts in, and having really good workouts, and just focusing more on like recovery and all this stuff. So yeah.
You have to really trust in the training and the plan. So when you are so attached in your mind about like, oh, like I need to run this pace because that means like for this workout or this long run, I'm in this shape. When you let
Yeah.
go of that and then said, okay, I'm going to lean into, training on effort and whatever, Coach Haas writes up for me at the end of the
Mhm.
block, did you
Mhm.
feel like you were in better shape for this one versus previous marathons?
Honestly, I was like, it was the times that I had run before, and you're not supposed to compare
You're
this.
right. Yeah.
And you shouldn't, like, because every marathon is different. And for me, like, I remember I kept thinking, I'm like, last year when I was getting ready for Boston, I was running these times, but this time I'm not even running anything. Like, it wasn't like close, but it was something that I'm like, oh. But then I was feeling so strong because I had started doing like body weights, and like stretching, and gym, and so I had these things that I was having, and I felt like I was just so strong for it. I might not have had like the foot speed, whatever, but towards the end, I was like, there was a few things that I was doing. I'm like, oh, that's me. And it was like, it just was like, I think like with the strength that I was doing and the workouts that we were doing, and just having like great support, I think that helped. Like it got me so strong. So yeah, towards the end, I'm like, oh, I'm fit. But then I get to Boston and you see everyone and everyone looks so good and you're like, maybe I'm not, you know? And I think for me, I think having New York half in the middle helped me a lot because that gave me so much confidence. Even when I came back to continue with the training before Boston, I was just like, everything you've done is so good. You just have to like maintain that and make sure you're recovering. So like the biggest part of this build too was just making sure I'm like recovering enough because the training was so short because we run at like 9 and then you have to double like 4, so there's not enough time to like recover in between. So I had to just like be very strict with like how when I run and when I come back, like just making sure that I'm getting all those like recovery like naps and good nutrition and all that in between.
Did you feel like when you got to Boston, you look around, you see everyone looks great, everyone's talking about running fast, making the podium, winning,
Yeah.
that even through all of that, that you were a little bit of an underdog and overlooked? Now, hand up, we made the graphic that says who's going to win the Boston Marathon, and we didn't put you on the graphic. I said it was because we didn't have one of the photos from the press conference. Will Lear told me, he's like, I could have got you a photo. So you belonged on that graphic. But then even, at the press conference and who they had on stage, you were second
Yeah.
there last year. You were fourth at the Olympics. And I feel like not enough people were talking about you in the lead up to the race. By the time it got to Monday, I started thinking, I was like, I think Sharon's going to win this one. Like, it's very low pressure and like there wasn't as many eyes on you. But for you in your seat, like, did you feel like, hey, I'm sitting on a secret, I'm very fit, like I'm ready, I have experience on the course? What were your feelings internally about just sort of like your position as, I would say, an underdog in this one?
I honestly think you know how strong the Boston field is. It's always is like the most like everyone is in there, and when they go to the press conference or something, like it's for me, I'm like I just like being an underdog almost. It almost is like it just has this feeling that it almost reduces the pressure. And like in a way, it just gives me like a certain, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work so hard, or like I'm gonna try and do like not change anything, but I'm just gonna try and go out there and show like everyone that, anything like I can do it, it's possible and all that stuff. So it's not like for me, it's not it's just like I'm usually like chill and calm. I'm like, that's perfect,
That's the
I'll
place you
take
want to be
that.
before the race. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
All right. So do you accept my apology? We didn't put you on the graphic, but now, anytime moving forward, you're going to be on our who's going to win graphic.
no, I'm okay. I'm okay with not being there.
Perfect. All right. If she's not on the graphic, it's because she said, "Hey, like I'm okay. This helps me actually, and it gives me a little
Yeah.
extra motivation." But
Mm-hmm.
no, it's great. All right. So then let's get to actual race day. Leading
Yeah.
into the race, I feel like every
Mm-hmm.
single, I talked to you at the press conference about this a little bit too. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the world majors that have been with Helen and you, even at the Olympics, like when the field is so strong, no one really wants to be the first one to make the move, and we don't
Yeah.
see any moves until 10K to go, 5K to go. It happens late, and
Yeah.
that works well in the favor of people like you and Helen, and that's why you guys have made like the podiums this time around. Did you get the sense it's like, I think this one's going to be a little bit different? Like, when did that sort of start to change on race morning?
And I feel like even just getting in the bus in that morning, just it just looks intense. Not even that morning. I feel like the 2 nights before, like everyone was just so intense. Even like going to dinner, you look at someone doesn't say, it's like you just wave when you see someone wave and not say a word. Just it was just so intense. So like going in, like when we got to the waiting area before we start warming up, you could just tell there was like so many tension and then when you warm up you can just it's like you just feel something is not gonna be the easiest. And then when we go to the start and the race goes, and then a few kilometers in, I mean, it was like the first few kilometers was like slow, and then all of a sudden boom, and I was like, ooh, this is different. And I could tell like it was not going to be that easy because the Ethiopian girls, they started talking, and then all of a sudden we just saw them going in front, and you're like, oh, this is where it starts. And in a way, for me, I think I was like happy it did that. It went that way because um, we've always, as you said, we've always been like waiting to until the end to push it. But then this time I was like, okay, it's good to like get position as early as possible. Then that way, you can settle and just hold on to that position. Rather than because all those women were very strong, and even like they all are like really good at like kicking and all that stuff. So I was like, for me, I was like, this is good, this is good. Let's get
Yep.
this going.
Because by like 10K or 15K, like it had already broken, the race was broken open at that point, and like there were,
Yeah.
I think only one American was left, and then it was mostly the Kenyan and Ethiopian runners in that pack. When a move like that is made, and you mentioned the Ethiopians started talking, like Connor
Mhm.
Mann said the same thing. Like there was a point in the men's race when Cisse Lemo was talking to, I think it was like Mukhtar Idris, and he's like, I don't know what's happening, but he's like, they're gonna do something. When
Yeah.
you see that happening, like, are you anticipating? I think we're about to go and like react. So what are you telling yourself at that point?
Usually, I feel like it's like okay, it's about to go down. It's about time. So be ready, be ready. And then, but when it happens, sometimes it's like just a quick move that they make,
Like
and
into a water
sometimes it's
station
like
or something, right?
yes,
And it's
yeah,
fake, but
yeah,
yeah, sort of, yeah.
yeah. So you have to that time you're just telling yourself, be aware, just keep looking and paying attention and seeing where that is because sometimes it might happen and it just even when it happened, I got dropped like I just was like behind for a little bit because it just went and it went too quick. And we started like, at some point I looked at my watch and we're running 3 or 5. I'm like, we're not even like 10. Yeah, so I was like, oh, this is crazy. But I just was like, just stay in it as long as you can. Just be patient and hold on. It's not, it's that early, and late stages of the Boston Marathon is not that easy. So then I was like, I don't think in my mind I was like, I don't think I did enough hills. You start to think things that you're like, oh, maybe I should like wait for the second group and see if that would help or anything. It just, yeah, yeah, it's so much.
When they asked you after the race, this is fast
Mhm.
forwarding, they asked you sort of like, was there any point where you thought that you were going like too fast? And you said like the whole entire race. When was the
Yeah.
first moment you looked at your watch or you saw a clock on the course and you're like, this is fast?
Even like I think for the fourth K, like 4K in, I think we were running like 3:10, or was it 3:15? And then from there it did not slow down. It did not slow down. We just, and I kept looking, and even like when we went up the hill, it was still like sub 3:20. It's like that's so fast. There was a point where we were like running 305, 304. Like I remember I think 25K we got our water. And I couldn't even because I grabbed it and it's like, well, you can't even do it because it's like everyone is almost like sprinting. So we just tried to like it. Yeah, it was so. I was looking at my splits and I'm like, gosh, this we passed second half and I'm looking. I'm like, we've never gone this fast anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
When when the moves start to happen, like was there one that you were like, okay, like I'm so glad I covered that one. What like in on the course, what do you think would have been like the moment that could have broken your race?
I think like around 20, before we got to like, I think it was like 20 to 23, somewhere around there. Because they opened and I think it was like, I looked at my watch and we ran, I think 250 something per kilometer. I'm like, and that's where it was like, it opened up and it just went. And it was like three of them. So it was Helen, Baristo, and one other girl. Um, and then I was like left I think I was behind almost like I don't know how many meters. And I was like, if I don't close this gap, this is how it just I'm gonna be dropped. But then it's like it's one of those and it reminded me because in New York it happened the same way. It's like I got dropped like that. And I was like, I'm just gonna use that same tactic and just close it slowly, and hopefully we get to like a hill or something, and that can help me get to them or like a downhill. But we didn't see any of those, so it was just like a straight up incline, no downhill. So I just tried to like slowly just close that gap, and then when I closed, it opened again. So it was like one of those things. I'm like, uh-oh. So yeah, that would have been if anything, that would have been the place that I was like, I'll be dropped. And I, yeah.
Where did you find the confidence about like not, yes, you maybe freaked out a little bit when you saw the pace and like what you guys
Yeah.
were running, but I think like something that's interesting is that you and Helen, when we look at the order of all the competitors,
Hmm.
and it's sorted by personal best, we had
Hmm.
to scroll to find you, right? Because
Yeah.
like you just have
Yeah.
not run on a Chicago, Berlin, or London like flat course that is super fast. Now you're 217 and like you move up on that list, but in
Hmm.
training and in this race, like did you have like the belief inside, or you're like on the right? This could have been, maybe if we look at the podium of the Paris Olympics, right? Like you got Tigges Assefa, 211 woman, like Stefan Hassan, 213 woman, and now, you and Helen are 217 athletes. But internally, like before this race, did you always believe like, hey, like on the right day, I could be, a 218, 217, 2 whatever runner? Like, what was your kind of training indicating or telling you? Because like that probably would have helped you not be, go crazy in the middle of the race.
Yeah, I would say like I knew maybe at some point, but I didn't think it was gonna be this one, you
Yeah.
know. And forever usually is like you go to Boston and you just want to be in the top, like running 220, 222. That's like the time. And I like in my head, I never even thought like we would go that fast. So, but then I remember like one time we were running and I kept telling like my friends, I'm like, if I ever in my career run like 218 or like somewhere between 216 to 218, I think I'll be fine and I'll just be, I'll just go with that and I'll be grateful. Um, but now having done that, I'm like, I think I want to try and see how fast I can do, like how fast I can go on a flat course. And yeah, it definitely is like something that now I'm like, okay, it's something that I'm like thinking and I think in the future going forward, we're just gonna figure out like when and where to do that and see if we could like replicate that or like run even a bit faster. So
Yeah. And it's always so hard
yeah.
though, because it's like when you have success in Boston, it's like now the expectation is I got to come back and defend my title. Or you've had your success in New York, and they're always going to
Mhm.
want you to come back. And so you're like, when am I going to find the opportunity to try and run a fast one?
It's tough. It's definitely not an easy decision to make because both of those like races are like really they have really good organizers and they're always like very friendly and very nice and it's like one of those that you're there and you just feel like you're like somehow you belong there. So it just makes you always to like go back and it's I don't know.
when we go back to just sort of like examining the race. You're going through, the hills, heartbreak. Slowly but surely, like that lead pack, even though it was, five or six women deep, you're losing one at a time. What was sort of like how did you think of, the field around you when that is all happening? It's the toughest parts of the course. And yeah, it was like the two Ethiopian women were the ones who like burst it open, but they ultimately, paid the price for doing that. What's going through your mind from, 25K to 35K when it's just getting smaller and smaller and you're like, okay, we've got less people to run with?
At that point, even, when you're thinking about it, like, but you're like, we might have gone too fast. They'll come back to us and catch us. It's happened before. There's like people have gone out quick, and then the second group comes back and close it. And so for me, it was just like, we're just like, okay, we have to help each other here because they've been like the ones pushing. So then at some point, we're like, okay, let's at least like help push the pace and try and make sure like we're maintaining this because if we kind of slow down, then it changes everything. So I think that was like the point where we're just like, okay, if we have to switch, let's switch and switch it up, keep at least helping. And as we go, I think like once people start to get tired and start to fall back, then we're like left a few of us and we're like, oh. So at that point, even like, only you're like past 30, it's about to start. Like everyone is now thinking about like making their moves and everything. And I think I remember at one point I was telling Helen, we should maybe start moving because I'm like, where is the heartbreak hill? Maybe when we get there, we can just get to that, and then because that's where I remembered last year, that's where the move was made. And then we get up that hill, and I was like, I think we're going through it. It's like in your head, it's like you know where it is, but it's like you've been so focused on so many things that you cannot even know what distance or like where you are. Um, and I think the banner that said, "Oh, thank you for summiting Heartbreak Hill," I saw, and I was like, "Oh, now we just finished the hills. Now it's time to go." So yeah, after that, I'm like, we get down the hill, and I'm like, okay, now we have to start moving. And I think that's where like you could see like that's where we tried to like start pushing and just trying to see if we could open up the gap. And we get to the point and I think I saw your limbs of looking back and I'm like, oh. And so then it was like the three of us and then when she looked back, I was like, oh. Then I think all of a sudden she broke like we dropped her and then it was just me and Helen and then I'm like, well, I guess we're back to like the usual now. So yeah, we just kept they kept going and at that point I was just like, I'm just gonna push. I do not care what is gonna happen to me, but I'm just going to push as hard as I can. And I had done that in training. I had done like exercise where like workouts where we're just trying to like push those last few kilometers and see how that would change things. And so I was like, okay, this is almost just like what you did in New York, what you've been doing in training, just do the same thing and you'll be okay. And even before my coach was like, I just want you to just go to the race and don't wait for someone else to make the move. If you feel good, just make that move and go with it. And so most of the time I was like, okay, here we are. I guess we are now going to do it. I'm so glad we did. I did.
I love this. All right, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
hit pause there because that is the move, and I do want to talk about the final move that you made. But I mean, I find it so fascinating. You and Helen were talking throughout the race, right? And so it's like,
hmm
can you
Yeah.
speak to, I guess, like a little bit of just sort of like, I know, right? It's like, you guys are teammates on the Kenyan Olympic team. You've been in so many races together, but that I know it's everyone wants it to be like a rivalry, but like you guys do have a friendship and you help each other. So
hmm
how much help and how much talking was there for most of that race? I'm sure at some point it's sort of like, all right, no, it's just you and me. Like no more, we're not friends for the next like 20 minutes. We actually have to race. But in those
Yeah.
early parts, like, what are you and Helen talking about?
I think for the most part, honestly, I think it was like when we had like left like a few pack, like there was like a few of us left. I think it was like maybe three of us and the three Ethiopians. And at that point, we're like, okay, now we have to like at least start working together. So we're just trying to like, oh, you lead or someone else lead or take the lead, at least like exchange with them and see. Because like at some point, I think they were starting to get tired and we're like, if we really need to like keep this opening up, we have to at least like be like help each other. So even as we kept going, I feel like even when tide dropped, we were still like trying to do the same thing and we get to the hill and we're like, oh, now we have to go. And yeah, I feel like with Ellen, we're always like trying to like push each other. And in a way, I think it's like, yes, we're friends and we're rivals, and everyone wants to win, you know. And I think in a way, like, just like we're always like, let's push each other until like the point where we know if you have it, if you still have it, just go. If I still have it, then we'll go. But for now, at least let's like try and move. And I think like we kind of did the same thing at the Olympics too. And so yeah, it was almost just the same thing, just trying to like, let's get to the, like just keep pushing and stay. And I think like with her being there, I feel like I'm more stronger because then I'm trying to like, you know, drop her, and she's also like doing the same thing. So I think in a way it just helps us be like strong and this like unbreakable,
Yeah.
fighting that we have.
So was this something that you discussed before the race, like in the starting village? No, it just happens in the middle of the
No,
race. You're like, all right, we're
no,
let's do this.
even when we were warming up, I think we were just making fun of her, and we're like, we know you're gonna drop us anyway, so we're just like, you go for it. It's like she's like, oh, I'm so strong now, I'm probably like even gonna break. I'm like, what? So long as like we're not in shape to break the world record, but you're definitely us. So, so it's like the things we're just talking about, and I think yeah, it was just like before even we start, she was like, "Yeah, we'll just hold on." And I think we'd like she had just heard of like, oh, it's gonna be like a fast one or something like that, or someone, and we're like, "Oh, you go with them. We'll just be behind you." And yeah,
Do you think without working with Helen, is it this fast? I mean, there was good weather for the day, like a lot of different variables, but the course record you guys shattered. If it wasn't for the two of you battling it out and also in that sense working together, that it wouldn't have been this fast.
no, no. And I think it also, I think like it's more for the Ethiopians that I think did the most part, like did the biggest part of the push was them. And I think like from the get-go, if we would have just not gone out that fast, it wouldn't have been that fast. So I think it was them that started it out, and then we just like almost just finished it up. So
All right. So then we get to like, I think it was like 40, 41K. And you and I
yeah,
talked about this in the pre-race press conference when I asked, you
yeah,
told me it was like, oh, I just recently went back and watched the last year's race, and
mhm,
I said, what would you have done differently? And you told me like, I think I, mentally gave up on myself or like let myself just think too much. At 41K when you go down the underpass and then you come back up, and she's like, that's where Helen got it. Like that's where she
mhm,
won the race. So I'm
mhm,
watching the two of you like going back and forth in that final, the final 2 miles of the race, and I'm like, Sharon watched the race and she knows where she messed up last year. She's not going to let it happen
yeah,
again. So take me
yeah,
through your planning process of, when you said coach gave me the permission to be the one to make the final move. When did you
mhm.
think like, all right, now's my time?
I honestly think like I wouldn't have done it because I think we got there and Helen tried to like make like for a while I was just like going, going, going. And for me, I was like, just keep like pushing whatever. And she was behind me for a little, for a longer, for some of like, I think, I don't know how long, but so then I was like, she's just staying behind me and then she'll just make the move anyway. So I'm just gonna try and make this hard. So yeah, I just kept going and then she made that move. And in my head, I'm like, this is it, And I was like, no, not today. So I think like I just like when she tried to like go around and take it, and I went this way and I just went for with her. And I think for a while we were just like together, and like I was like, just after you pass the hill, if whatever happens, you know. And then like when I did that and I just saw she didn't react that well, and I was like, oh, this is good. So then I just went and I like even when I was like I had like left a little bit. I didn't look back because then I was like, if I look back, I wouldn't know. So I just tried to like focus and like be in that moment and just run as hard as I could. Like I kept like I remember going that under that underpass and like running, and like the only thing I could think about, I'm like, do not look back, just keep going. She's probably just on your heels until we get to the corner, and I couldn't. And I think what helped me is like the people, the cheers, people that are like on the side of the road. And like you could tell sometimes from the cheers when like how they cheer when you're close and if someone is a bit farther. And it was like still close. But then we get to the corner and I couldn't hear. And then I, like, before I turned to the finish line, I had like it was a bit farther. So I looked back for once and I'm like, I saw it and she was like, oh, then I started kicking. I was like, this is it. If I'm just gonna kick as hard as I can. I don't have a kick, but I'm just going for it. And yeah, that's like I did not even believe. I still think she was still behind me. I did not know I had it until you get to the line and that person is like, "Oh, go right, go right, or go left." And then he told me to go left, and I was like, "Whoa, I'm going left. That's like the winner's one." And that is exactly where I knew I had it. But before that, I still was like fighting for my dear life. I'm like just
I love that. So like the answer to if I were to ask you, it's like, when did you break Hellen Obiri and when did you know you broke her? I guess like you didn't know until the guy with the flags tells you to go to the left.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like even when she made that move, like where she made it last year, and I stayed with her, and I think in my head I was like, she probably was like when I like went with her, she probably was like, oh, I'll just let her take it for some time, and then I'll just come and go. And yeah, for a long time I didn't.
One of the best things I've seen is just like all the videos that have come out of you
Yeah,
going down to the finish line and right into the arms of your mom.
yeah.
How sweet was that moment?
So sweet. Like I remember when I was young, when I started running, my mom was the one that will take me everywhere. Like she would take me because like we would go to these events and she'll take me to like a race in like to the city, wherever like I didn't know, and she would like wait for me in the stands. I will run, I will do everything. She'll wait for me in the stands and then she'll like take me back. So every single like runs that I did when I was young and getting into running and everything, she was there. And then when I came here for college and everything, she never came to see me or anything like that. Like, it was like so fun. I remember going to races and I was like wishing like, my mom would be there. When I see other like my teammates, my parents being there, like I wish she would be here to see all this. And when I started like before like professional, when I started running, and I'm like, I wish she could come. And when she came to New York, that was so cool because I was like, wow, she can finally watch me. And yeah, I got that. She was still very proud. But then in my head, I was like, I'm gonna make her like proud one time, and I'm gonna work so hard so she could see me winning because we've just like it's been just a very very long journey of where we start until where we are right now. So yeah, just have been there. And yeah, I just even coming to Boston, I was like, she came here 2 weeks early and 3 weeks, and she was with me and just like trying to like help me calm my nerves and everything. She even woke me up that morning of the race. She was like, she came in and she was like, "You're supposed to go to dinner, like breakfast at like 4:30." I'm like, "No, 4:30 a.m." I'm like, "No, it's like I set my alarm for 5." So she's like, "I've been awake. I don't hear you like opening the door or anything." So you're like, Wake up, you might be late." So yeah, just like, that the moment of just crossing the finish line and, winning and just seeing her run down to me, it was just so emotional and just so rewarding. And it feels like, it didn't feel like my achievement. It almost felt like hers, because she was just like always like being my inspiration, and it was just so cool just to have her there in this like just the best day ever. And just running that fast and winning it and her seeing all of it and being a part of it. Yeah,
When you looked, down that left aisle and you saw her, was it just
yeah,
like an extra gear that you found, like
yeah.
in that
Yes.
final home
And
stretch?
yeah, and I honestly like I didn't, when you see the finish line, you don't really see her that much. And then like as soon as I cross, I see her running, and like the only people like not most people would run at that finish line, and I just saw and it was her, and yeah, it was yeah, it's like the best feeling ever.
I think the second most emotional person, and the other great video I saw was Coach Stephen Haas, where he's just like,
Yes.
hands on his face. I think there were tears, and like for him, that was also a big moment because the two of you have been on this journey together for many
Yeah.
years now. What
Hmm.
was it like, I guess, when you saw that video? Because he was a little further back, but then eventually gets, a hug too.
Oh, like when I even the I had not I had seen a few bits of it. I had not seen the whole thing. I think long run Lactic posted it the other day. And I was like, this is so cool. I had like just seen like clips of them. And like I even saw there was another clip of them actually when they were watching at the watching area at the hotel. And it's like I think he's nervous, my mom is nervous, so they're trying to comfort each other and everyone is like, it's gonna be okay. It's very emotional, but it's like in a way I'm just like to be where I am and to be able to like be winning these races. I honestly wouldn't have done it without him because he's the one that trusted me and took me in when I moved here to train in Flagstaff. And yeah, he's been my coach and my agent all those time. Even when I'm training in Kenya, he makes time to come and watch. And he's a busy man, but he still makes time to like come and be part of like my practice. Like most of my biggest runs, I'm like, he's always there biking and stuff. And even when it was snowing and all that stuff, it was like muddy on the road, but he's still on the bike and still like just like being on our side, giving us water and all this stuff. So yeah, just having him and Noble, I feel like it's just and just the team in general, I've been like they've all like played a big part of like being helping me with the training and everything. So
At
yeah.
the end of the year, when everyone posts like how many flights that they've been on, like, and Coach Stephen Haas has, I think it was like 29 total days of like being in the air. Like, it just goes to show
Hmm.
you he will show up for his athletes if he's coaching or if he's an agent. Like, he will go out of his way to be there for all of them. And so I think that that's a very, very special thing that he does for everyone. But
Yeah.
that emotion I'd never seen before.
So cool. I still can, I haven't seen him now. It's like I haven't
He might still be
I haven't
recovering.
seen
Yeah.
oh, trust me. Even when I remember when I was like when I was hugging him and my mom together, there was just so many emotions and I'd never seen him cry. I saw him cry. It was like have tears of joy, and it was like it just yeah. It was very very just being around every one of them, and I even yeah. And we made a bet before. He was like, if we like run while if I'm into the top three, he's like, oh, you can take my credit card and you guys can go shopping wherever with Courtney, and I'm like, oh, you sure? And he was like, yeah. And then I crossed the finish line. I'm like, oh, sorry, your credit card. So that was
When's the shopping spree?
well, soon. Soon.
Poor Haas. I think like he'll feel
Yeah.
that one. So you mentioned like your mom taking you to races when you were younger, and you've been involved
Hmm.
in the sport from such a young age, and now you have a New York City Marathon title, Boston Marathon title. You've competed at the Olympics and finished fourth. Like, these are the stages that like are the biggest. And
Hmm.
when you were that little girl, like, what were the dreams that you had for yourself? And has this exceeded all of that?
Definitely, I think. But when you're young, you just want to tour the world or see things and I feel like when I was that, I just like all I kept thinking, I'm like, if even when I said I didn't think I was gonna do professional like I thought I just needed to go to college. That was the biggest part of me. Just I just wanted to go to college. Just wanted to get a degree and study and get a job somewhere. But like I never like once I started training, I never thought like my running because in my family we don't like there's no one that's ran or anything. So it just was like, oh, maybe this is just for like just to get me to school and something like that. Like I never pictured it to be this big. And then we started training when I went to the training camp, and I'm like, oh, and everyone was like, oh, you can be a really good athlete. And when I was applying for schools to come to the US, I like there was like a few schools that I would get, but I would not get accepted. And I was like, if I do not get a visa, I'm just going professional from here. And I don't know. I guess maybe it was a way of like my life changing in a certain way. I don't know if I would have gone professional then, if it would be the same thing, or me going to college and then turning professional. I don't know. But in a way, I'm just happy that it's here and it's happening. And and you said like you make like goals and you have goals in life, and I think my biggest goal was to like make it to the Olympics, get to like these races, and it's like now that I'm here, I'm like it's it's growing. My goals are getting bigger, and yes, I've been to the Olympics, but I want to go back. I want to be able to get a medal. I want to or go to other teams and be able to like, you know, be in the podium or like even win and just get into like all these other races and run fast. Like I've ran now, it's like the time too. I've ran 2:17, but now I feel like I can even run faster. So it's like you get to like the place that you wanted in your life, and then now that you're here, you're like, oh, so what next?
Yeah.
What can I still achieve? So that's the part that I'm in now. I'm like, I just wanna put myself out there and just keep trying and keep working hard and see what else is left.
Yeah, in a way, like even though you made your debut in 2022, it doesn't feel like
Hmm.
it's been that long. And even with like the Olympics, like finishing fourth,
Yeah.
like that is the place that now you're the hungriest, just off of,
Hmm.
the podium and medals, that
Yeah.
it hasn't been as long since the debut. And I also feel like it's not that far away from like the next Olympics too. So like we're in this sweet
Yeah.
spot where things are going really well, and now you have
Hmm.
so much momentum leading into 2028. And also like the Kenyan Olympic team is not easy to make.
No, no, and even like I'm not sure like by 2028 maybe there will be like more youngsters that are like faster and really good. So I think you just have to like, just have hope and just be consistent and just keep doing, training hard and doing well, and just hopefully, it all just comes when 2028 comes, you're still like in top shape and you can still make it. So, but it's like one of those things you might make it once and never do it again. So,
I feel like with Boston this time, you got the best of both worlds. Like you ran
yeah.
very, very fast and you won. And like
Hmm.
the feelings, like some people would prioritize like, I want to just go out and run as fast as possible in my next race and just see, that means I'm gonna go to Valencia and just, if I finish 20th place but I ran like a crazy time, then that's great. Some people would be like, I would want to go back to New York and try and finish as high as possible, maybe win, or Chicago. Like, I know you have so much time now to make a decision on
Hmm.
like what's next for the future, and it's still, super early, 1 week after Boston. But what do you feel like is going to motivate you now? Because you've done a little bit of both, is win at the biggest stages, and you ran fast.
Yeah. But that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think it's like I just want to run fast.
And if
I
I win
just
in the
want to,
process, I think that's good.
yes, then it's let's go. But as you said, like every time, like seeing that descending order and trying to find my name that down there, it's always just like, "Shit, I wish I can, I wish I can go run fast somewhere and get the first time." But then there's also like so many other like things that make up to like the decision, that leads to like, okay, this is the perfect one to do. And a big part of this is usually like Stephen Haas and I going back and forth, like trying to figure out, okay, which one is the next one, or what should we do, like, and I think for now, I honestly cannot tell you because I just, yeah, I'm just still in this like just still trying to like
Of
get
course.
everything situated in my head. But yeah, I think it's just, I don't know, just run fast or just keep going. Yeah,
Yeah.
I cannot tell you.
So, did you watch London yesterday?
Yes.
And now I'm curious, like, what if you had been in that race? Like, did you play that game kind of in your mind a little bit of like it was a 2:15 race up in the front, but even the people in contention like are people that you've raced against before. Like,
No, no.
what did you think of like how you would have fared? What was your reaction, I guess, to that race?
I, before even I ran Boston last weekend, on Sunday or Saturday, I was so nervous and I'm like, maybe I was like telling my mom, maybe I should have just gone to London. It's 1 week later and I would probably have more time to like
Just
think
cramming
about
a
it
little bit of extra fitness, yeah.
you know, but yeah, just watching it yesterday, I was like, this is so cool. And even from the get-go, I was like, I don't want to be in that field, because you could see it and you're like, this is just the best field that you could ever think of. And all those, yeah, it was just like either going to like be a world record at some point, whether it's like world record, or like world record women's on, and yeah, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm not quite ready for that. I might have been like fit, yeah, but I don't think I was fit for that, and it's probably like maybe like in the near future I would probably like put myself in it, but like at this point I'm like whatever, I'm just gonna throw myself in there and see how it goes. You never know, you never limit yourself. I might have been like, we might have been like 220, or I might have been like 216. You never know. It just probably would have been like, depends with the day and the training and everything. So but that was just watching that, it was like it gives me, I'm like, I wish, if I was there I probably
Yeah, that's the game
yeah,
everyone
you're just,
plays.
yeah, yeah, but you don't want to be there, you just wish.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to actually run the race. I just want to see like where my name would have been in the results. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, no, I think that you definitely belong in sort of like now you've definitely proven it, like just with these victories and now your personal best that you 100% like you belong among the best in the world. And I guess like one fun
thank
thing
you.
to kind of think about too, and for the Americans who are like listening and getting excited about like, where's American Marathon and going, because they had a good day like in Boston as
Hmm.
well. But the
Yeah,
most interesting thing is that Wayne is like also getting ready to move up to the
yeah,
marathon, and I feel like
yeah.
Coach Haas has kind of given like a couple hints. It's like you guys like we're patient with the approach. Like we were patient
Hmm.
with Sharon, and like when she
Hmm.
made her debut, she obviously won New York, and it's like it's not going to be like we're just jumping into the marathon. So
Yeah.
I want to hear it from you a little bit to get more American fans excited when Wayne does move up. It's going to be special, I think, like right from the get go, because like, there's a lot of
Yes.
things that, coach has learned from working with you. And now, Wayne gets to benefit from a lot of that, but she's also been one of your
Hmm.
closest training partners.
Yes, I mean, so far she's ran, you've seen how far she's ran all those half marathons. And for me, I think she's ready now. I can tell you she's ready now. But like, I think it, like you have to also be ready mentally and be there, just be accepted. And I think for her, like she's still like in that situation where she's like, oh, I still maybe like I can still do track a little bit. I can still, but I know when she's like out there, when she comes to run, that's why like I remember telling my hands, I'm like, I need to run fast before when he comes, because if I don't if I don't get the team record right now, I know when Wayne comes, she's probably gonna take it away from, the start. But it's very exciting just seeing her like getting like growing and doing more miles, and getting excited for more road races. And I think it's like it's going to be something special for sure. And yes, I hope I'm like showing her the right ropes, that anything can be done. And I know when she's like, when it's time to be out there, she'll have really good support from us and Armour and everyone, because I am getting all this like support and help that I need to be the best that I can. So I'm pretty sure, when she comes, she's definitely gonna be killing it too. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that.
So kind of now to enjoying, the break and the celebration before you go on your shopping spree on Haas's credit card, like you earned like a good amount of money with the prize money, the course record, bonus and
Hmm.
everything. And I guess like I just remember, John Career is donating money to the Transcend Academy because he has that
Yeah.
connection there. And like
Hmm.
your mom is in Kenya and you spend a lot of time there. Are there any, personal causes that you are also kind of gonna, donate to or look to, really invest in Kenya because it's such an integral part of your life?
Yeah. We're actually planning to go to Kenya in June with part of the Under Armour team. Yeah, I've been trying to get more into like just getting into like, first I would like my college where I ran, my high school, sorry. Um so yeah, we're gonna visit like the girls there that are still running, and and see them and provide for them. And then there's also another group that we're planning to go in Kapsabet, the group with Janet Jepkosgei. I
Hmm.
think she has like a few kids that are like she's training under. So yeah, like those are like the few that we're planning to go visit in June with part of like the Andama team. So yeah, I'm really excited for those. And I think in a way, if I wasn't like for me, I think like when I went to the high school, it definitely like had something like it's helped me be the person that I am. And even the coach that was there, like the training facilities and everything, and even just like a little bit of like the game. I feel like here in America, we're just so lucky that we have so many things that whatever you need you get. And but for them sometimes like even when I'm training there, usually like I have training partners or like training people that they just like have same kind of shoe for every single thing, or like or like gear or like all these things. And I usually feel like I'm so spoiled when I go back because I have all these. And for them it's just like the least that they can get. They appreciate that, and they're still showing up to practice very excited and very ready to go. So a big part of like me going back there is just showing them and bringing things that I know would definitely be a big part of like their training in school. And it's like mostly like just like school girls that are in high school and girls that are in training groups. So, or like it's just a mixture. It's not just women. It's just everyone else. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
hmm Yeah.
So, what else are you looking forward to on this break? You haven't run, I guess, right, since Boston. So,
No.
enjoying that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. My mom is actually still here, so we've been doing like a few hikes here and there, like just a few, like
Yeah.
not too much, just the minimal one. It's not even hike, it's walks. So we're doing those, and I think we're planning to go on like a mini vacation next week. So, and then when I come from there, I guess it will be time to work because we have races now on the calendar. I hear, but
Amazing.
so
Well,
yeah.
Sharon, I appreciate you taking the time for this and also telling us like the story behind all of the training and everything that has led to this success. So happy for you. Again, like we're gonna keep you off the graphics, predicting on who the winners is, but no, it's always
Thank you.
it's always great to see you atop the podium.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for everything that you do for the running community too. I think it does make a difference and it helps a lot. So thank
Thank you,
you.
Sharon.